Should you get Thillelille extra style? Here's why you should get her, and here's why you might want to hold on to your Chrono Stones for a little bit. And if you already have her though, how do you use her? I'll show you her best skills, team, equipment, and Grasta setup. Plus, I'll show you a juicy damage chest. Then I'll let you know if I would personally pull for her. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, donate a thanks. I'm now also on X. Follow me at JRPGWow if you want random clips from me, such as one of me beating Ukwaji Trio in 3 moves, my puppy sleeping funny, and my home gym setup. For the new players out there, Thillelille was introduced to us in the Western Mythos saga, and she's kind of like an antiquity version of Suzette. She serves as a clumsy comic relief who actually has some legit power behind her. But what most people love about Thillelille is her pet thingy-majiggy, Moke, that little white creature with a big mouth that everyone knows and loves. And speaking of Moke, one of the biggest selling points of getting Thillelille ES is that Moke will now finally officially become a sidekick. But before we talk about Moke, let's look at Thillelille ES's skills. And you may be surprised. Unlike Thillelille ES's normal style and another style versions who are shade and fire slash units, Thillelille extra style is a crystal slash unit who can be stellar awakened. Right off the bat, she can set crystalline stance if you move her to the front line or if you activate the benediction skill. The benediction skill will give your team an MP bonus and can also awaken that zone, greatly increasing crystal, shade, and thunder attacks. On top of this, what's even better is that her strongest attack skills like Photon Messiah inflict permanent pain, bypassing your need to have another pain setter in the team. If you have a Stellar Awakened version, what's probably most useful about Thillelille ES, besides having Moke as a sidekick of course, is her Sword-wielding Savior state, which automatically activates at the start of battle or when Moke uses a skill called Anger of the Moke Tribe. This state increases Thillelille ES's damage and healing by 20% and makes all her skills cost 0 MP to perform, making her great for mob clearing in dungeons and for long boss battles. Not only that, if Thillelille ES has more luring shadow characters in the front line with her, like Alma AS, Iffy, and Dewey Alta for example, the strength of her Photon Messiah will greatly increase by up to 2,400% according to the unofficial wiki. And one skill you should activate before Photon Messiah is Promised Land, which doubles everyone's magic and attack damage for 5 turns if they're luring shadow characters, and you get an even bigger bonus if they're sword users. Someone correct me if I've interpreted this status effect incorrectly. If you want to overkill an enemy, Thillelille ES's stellar skill, Sword of the Heart, is a 4x double XL crystal all enemy slash attack that pierces barrier. If you're doing this during another force, Thillelille ES will also inflict Kaleido during Stellar Burst, making all your luring shadow party members crystal attackers during that turn only. This skill, however, will end your Sword-wielding Savior state, so it probably serves as a decent finishing blow. Speaking of which, besides from the crazy Sword of the Heart skill, the Sword-wielding Savior state only lasts for 1 turn if you haven't enhanced it with her Stellar board, and if you've enhanced it, it will only last for 3 turns. Moki's Anger of the Moki Tribe skill will also help it last for 3 turns. Let's not forget Thillelille ES's EX move. Besides looking super impressive, you'd want to use it because as well as dealing a bunch of damage, it inflicts exposed crystal on all enemies and removes all buffs on all enemies and removes debuffs on all party members, which can really turn the tides in battle, especially with super bosses who buff themselves to near invincibility sometimes. So how would I use Thillelille ES? On turn 1, I'd get someone else, let's say Alma, to activate Crystalline Stance. Then I'll use Thillelille ES to awaken that stance with Benediction. On turn 2, I'd use Promised Land to strengthen Thillelille ES even further. On turn 3, I'd unleash Photon Messiah as a single move or during another force, which would hopefully allow her to Stellar Burst and use her EX move. During another force in Stellar Burst, I'd use Sword of the Heart to hopefully finish the battle for good. I'll show you a live example of this soon. Before that, let's talk about Thillelille ES's sidekick, Moke. I think its main purpose is to be cute, but besides that, he probably won't be as useful as Tetra, who auto-heals and cures statuses, or Kumos, who restores everyone's MP. In fact, Mocha's attack skill does like 1 damage per hit. But what Mocha is good at is wearing down enemies. When there's an environmental effect, for example, he'll give everyone Barrier Pierce, which is super useful for enemies with Barrier activated. And Mocha's 5 charge costing Anger of the Mocha's tribe skill, which I mentioned earlier, besides putting Thillelille ES in the Sword-wielding Savior state and dealing that massive 5x1 damage, actually inflicts stun and reduces the enemy's physical and type resistance, making them easier to defeat. But the catch is, it only does this for 1 turn, so you'd probably want Mocha to use this skill right before you activate another force, so you can soften the enemy up for Thillelille's finishing move. So who should you team Thillelille ES with? Thillelille ES is built to be great with Crystal and Luring Shadow allies. So one approach is to build a team of Crystal Element and Luring Shadow users who can both strengthen and defend Thillelille ES. Alma AS would be useful with Thillelille ES. She's not only a deadly attack unit on her own, check my video in the description after this, she can also be a great tank unit. Iffy is a fantastic Luring Shadow support unit who can strengthen Thillelille ES and bring her back to life if needed, and Dewey Alter, whose Grudge Spark can turn him into a crystal unit, can serve as an okay support character and healer. And instead of Dewey Alter, I may want to use Myunfa Alter or Yifa AS to buff up Thillelille ES instead. Although they're guiding light characters, they would still help Thillelille ES do insane damage. There's also Mariel ES, who can provide strong defense support and is a crystal unit at the same time. In saying that, I'll show you a live example of why Thillelille ES can still be deadly without a crystal or luring shadow team, even if she's built for those kinds of teams. In fact, Thillelille ES can be quite versatile and can work with a lot of different characters. So what equipment and Grasta should you give Thillelille ES? In terms of weapons, badges and armor, I'd give her anything to improve her power, speed and MP. Increase her power if you're just having a quick, easy battle. Equip Thillelille ES with speed equipment if you're going to be in a longer boss fight, as more speed will allow Thillelille ES to inflict more hits during another force. Increase Thillelille ES's MP because Thillelille's skill Promised Land applies mental and singular focus, which increases Thillelille's damage depending on her MP. The latest Dryad's equipment does all of the above. The Dryad's weapons can fulfill both your power and speed needs, as they have really good attack and enhance your speed at the same time. And the Dryad's armor will fulfill your MP needs as they boost MP. But to get these weapons, you need to beat some of the strongest bosses in the game at the moment. So if you're not ready for that yet, there's a whole list of other weapons, armor and badges that increase power, speed and MP listed in the unofficial AE wiki that I'll link to in this video's description. Since new equipment is always coming out, it's best to check these lists once in a while to find what's most relevant, especially if you're watching this at a later date. Just remember, increase power for shorter battles, speed for longer battles, and MP if you want to make the most of the Promised Land skills buffs, because with more MP comes stronger attacks for Thillelille ES. As for Grasta for Thillelille ES, you'd want the typical Power of Pain and Agony type Grasta that are enhanced with Bullseye Ores, Last Stand Ores, and Rose with Thorns Ores. There are also ores you can experiment with that enhance power, MP, or speed depending on how many Luring Shadow points you have. In the reserves, I'd equip team members with shareable Grasta to power up Thillelille ES even more, such as Enhance of Max HP, Power of Crystal, and any of the almighty Power Grasta that are linked to her personality traits such as Sweet Tooth, Clergy, West, Sword, and Crystal. There's also new Grasta available that seems specifically designed for Thillelille ES and Alma ES, and it's called the Resonant Power Shadow Grasta. This Grasta increases the damage per shadow ally in the front line by 30%. And you can unlock it by finishing the new Trial of Those Embracing Emptiness boss rush battles from Sebastian's Battle Simulator. With this in mind, is Thillelille ES worth pulling? There are a few things you need to think about before you spend your chronostones or even money. What makes you happy? The time it now takes to build and develop characters, the number of characters coming out this month and even in the next 2 weeks, and finally, how beneficial Thillelille ES will be for your team. The first question is the easiest. If Thillelille makes you happy, then go for it. But before you do, think about the time and effort it will take to feel this supposed happiness. If you're a free player and only get Thillelille normal styles 4.5 star and not her extra style 5 star, firstly, you won't get Moke sidekick or have any of the strong attack skills I mentioned. In fact, you'll have a completely different character. To upgrade Thillelille normal style to Thillelille extra style, you need 5 sacrament codices, 5 chant scripts, 30 prayer scripts, and 90 murmur scripts. You can buy 2 sacrament codices from the No Por Emporium, but to get the remaining 3, you need to randomly get them at an approximately 0.1% chance from this list of dungeons. If you have Thillelille ES 5 star, hurrah! You get Moke and you can use her strong Photon Messiah skill. But to make the most of her, you need to Stellar Awaken her, which means you need to pull Thillelille ES 5 star on her current banner, which you have a 0.8% chance of getting on the 10th pull. So let that sink in. 0.8% chance of success. In other words, about a 99.2% chance of failure. Or you can Stellar Awaken her using the long and confusing methods I've outlined in my guides, which I've linked in my description. And let's say you'll think, I'll just get a paid banner to get Thillelille ES right away. Guess what? Thillelille ES's current paid banner will only give you about a 10% chance of getting her on the 10th pull, meaning you'll have a 90% chance of failing and wasting your money. But let's say you've succeeded and you've Stellar Awakened Thillelille ES. Can you celebrate? No. You need more Luring Shadow points if you want to max her out. So guess what? You need to get more Luring Shadow sword items for her, or everyone's favorite, you need to once again pull her in a banner a few more times where you need to spend more Chrono Stones or more money for something where the odds are very, very obviously stacked against you. In other words, these banners are designed to make you fail so you can spend more and more money and fail more and more times. Now, let's say you've done all that, can you celebrate? No. After you've emptied your wallet and spent all the Chrono Stones you spent dozens of hours of game time accumulating, you need to get Thillelille ES to level 100, which at the time of this video can take a long time to do. So before you decide to get Thillelille ES, think about the other stellar characters that have come out recently and who are about to come out. Aldo, who's free, Suzette, Tsukaha, the Octopath characters who are also free, Wanefika, Alma AS, Arcana Alta, and whoever else is coming out. Then consider how much time and resources do you realistically have in trying to get Thillelille ES, because when you get her, the work won't stop. There's a lot you need to do before she becomes useful, especially if you don't have her 5-star version. With Stellar Awakening, you now have to really think about which new character you want in your roster, simply because of the sheer amount of work and luck and resources and even money you need to put into first getting them and then making them grow. Can you tell this new system is pissing me off? It's designed to take as much money from us as possible, and it annoys me because a lot of kids who don't know better play this game. Moke, as cute as it is, I personally don't think is the most useful sidekick compared to Tetra and Kumos, so if you want a great sidekick and don't have 5-star Minalka or Yakumo yet, Minalka comes with Tetra and Yakumo comes with Kumos, you may want to consider getting them instead, as they come with a lot less effort and headache. Also, if you already have Alma AS is already a heavy hitting crystal zone setting unit. You may want to save your Chrono Stones for someone of a different element or style, but of course, it's up to you, baby. The next question is, how beneficial will Thillelille ES be for your team? Let's say you're lucky enough to get the 5-star Stellar Awakened Thillelille extra styles, and yes, she is awesome for your team. We've been waiting for a long time for a strong crystal unit, and if you don't have Alma AS, Thillelille ES is your answer. If you have Alma AS already, I did a vid on her by the way, Alma AS is already a fantastic crystal zone setter who can pretty much be indestructible if you set her up right, so you may want to focus your time on building her up instead and then saving your stones for a newer unit. So how does Thillelille ES look like in action? Let's watch this video from the Japan account, Jaku. I've linked to their channel in my description, so feel free to support them. In this first battle, you see the player use Thillelille ES with a Luring Shadow team that supports Crystal. So typical team you can build around Thillelille ES. The player uses Promised Land to buff Thillelille ES up, and then Promised Messiah to deliver the killer blow, which is the same kind of sequence of techniques I would use. Jaku then uses another force, and then both Thillelille ES and Alma AS's stellar skills to do insane damage. Jaku then continues using the stellar skill, Sword in Heart, to keep going. I'm pretty impressed that Mistrara AS can still do this amount of damage. Now let's watch Thillelille ES against the Ukwiji trio. See here we have Thillelille ES with characters who are non-crystal and aren't even luring shadow. Even if she was built to support crystal and luring shadow teams, this just shows how versatile she can be. On turn 1 we see Thillelille ES using Benediction to set crystalline stance. We see Moki looking like a smiling cute little spermie. On turn 2 we see Thillelille ES doing Benediction once again, this time to awaken the crystalline stance she set on turn 1. And the last skill she uses is a stellar skill, Sword in Heart, which absolutely destroys the poor Ukwajis. All they wanted to be was your friend, man, come on. The final question is, would I personally get Thillelille ES? The short answer is no, at least not yet. Why? Because as I said, it costs way too many chronostones, time and effort to just get one character nowadays. And we've had multiple new characters in the past 2 months, plus we're getting a handful of new characters in the coming weeks. I'm still broke from trying to get Winefica. I don't have enough stones and I certainly don't want to spend money to only get a 10% chance of pulling Thillelille ES. At the very least, I'll aim to side grade my existing 5-star Thillelille to get her, though I know this is realistically going to take months or even years, or I'll just pull her in a star dream encounter. In fact, they just announced that they're releasing the next part of the Rise Saga, which means we're getting yet another new Stellar Awakened character. So we're getting a Kane Alta, a potential global anniversary / Japan merge character, and a new Rise Saga character. And they will all be hard and expensive and difficult to get in a banner pool and time consuming to develop. What I will do is wait until they announce what's happening when we merge with Japan and who that new Rise Saga character will be. During this announcement, both the Alma AS and Thillelille ES banners will still be out, so I'll be able to look at the global anniversary character if there is one. I'll be able to look at a Kane Alta. I'll be able to look at the new Rise character on top of Alma AS and Thillelille ES who will still be out and decide which one of these is worth the time and effort.